So, I'm not one to really want to use this channel as a means to talk about leaks often, mostly because of my disdain for leakers in general, as I view most of them as nothing but cloud chasers who ruin the excitement of events such as directs for me. Pyoro is a little different though, as for the most part, they don't directly say what the announcement is, and instead leave a broader scope of what the announcement could look like, so there's still at least some room for speculation. All in all, Pyoro is cool, and I do think that with someone who has a basically spotless track record so far, what they're saying holds weight. And lately, they've been talking about what will get announced in the allegedly upcoming Direct, although let's be real, given past history and the fact that every notable insider is saying that a Direct is happening this month, it's all but confirmed at this point. But one of the tweets from Pyoro interested me in making an impromptu video speculating about what it could mean. So if you don't want to be spoiled as to what this theoretical announcement could be, then first of all, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but just in case you did and don't want to be spoiled, this is your last warning to leave. Okay, let's get into it. So the tweet in question states that we will get remakes of a DS game and a Wii game. Pyoro then goes on to reply to a question confirming that the games in question are related. That helps us narrow it down a decent bit. So for this video I want to go over all the possibilities of what these games can be and rank them from least to most likely in my opinion. Starting with the bottom tier, which is games that fit the criteria but I think have as close to zero chance of happening as possible. But there's really only one kind of game that fits into this tier: licensed games. I know that anyone bringing up a game based off of something like a Disney movie is only joking, but I bring it up since it does technically fit the criteria established by these tweets. Alright, now the actual bomb tier. I think these series have about as close a chance to zero as possible to being the games in question. Starting with Kirby just got a Wii game remake very recently, and all in all, I think other franchises are probably more due for one than Kirby at this time. The next series I'm going to talk about is Metroid. I just don't think that anything Metroid related other than Prime 4 is currently on Nintendo's mind. And lastly, Pokemon. I was actually going to put this series a lot higher in the likelihood initially, but announcements of new Pokemon games and or remakes usually happen in their own separate presentations, so that drastically dropped the odds of this happening for me. Now, we've gotten that out of the way quickly, we're going to move on to the next tier, which consists of series that I find unlikely to be the ones in question, but don't think it's a non-zero chance. But for this tier, I really could only think of one series. That series being the Mario series. A possibility that I saw people throwing out there was the two remakes in question being New Super Mario Bros. On the DS and Wii, but I just don't think that there'd be this much focus on to Mario one time, especially this late in the Switch's life cycle, even most of them are smaller projects. I think the route of two spin-off games getting remade is more likely, but I'm still not putting my money on it. In terms of those spin-offs, maybe something like a couple of Mario Party games, although I don't really see that as likely, but what I think could be a possibility is Mario Hoops 3-on-3 and Mario Sports Mix being the two games in question. They're both remakes of sports games, so they shouldn't require too much time and resources, and those games also had the help of Square Enix, as those games have Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest characters in them, so I could definitely see those games happening, but I think there are still more likely candidates out there. Now I'm going to get into my top 3. I view these as the most probable series to house the remakes in question, so let's start them off with the WarioWare series. A Wario-related game, whether it be one of the platformers or a WarioWare game, seems like a very strong possibility here. With the release of the new WarioWare game coming up, this could be a strong opportunity to push the series into people's minds, and the platformers have their dedicated fans who have been waiting since the Wii era to finally see another Wario Land game. Next up, Zelda. It just seems overdue for a remake at this point. Ahem. A worthwhile remake. The DS has a couple of candidates in Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, lesser recognized entries, but they still have their dire fans. And the best Zelda game of all time, Link's Crossbow Train. Yeah, no, of course, I'm talking about Twilight Princess. It's been rumored for a bit, and this would be the perfect opportunity to make it happen. But I still think there's one series that's more likely to be the source of these remakes, and that series is Rhythm Heaven. This might be a small amount of copium talking, but Rhythm Heaven is long overdue for anything. It seems like people involved with the series are open to new entries, it's just up to Nintendo. But if that's not the case, then I'm sure that remakes reports of the original and Pyoro will be an entirely viable option. The series has a diehard fanbase that has been clamoring for a new entry for about the past 3 or 4 years. I'm sure Nintendo is at least taking notice. Putting these out there could be a way of testing the waters and seeing what the interest is in Rhythm Heaven before committing to a potential new entry. There's just so much that lines up for this one that I can't think of anything other than Rhythm Heaven as the most likely series to be the one getting these supposed remakes. But anyway, that's it for this discussion. Look out because I'll likely make at least one video loosely related to the Direct if it happens. Thanks for watching.